How are you liking your Comic-Con so far? It looks like you're having a blast looking at the ears and looking at the costumes and everything.
I am. I'm having a blast.
Explain me a little bit about the title.
Yeah, Kill Shakespeare is an action-adventure story where we take all of Shakespeare's greatest heroes and his most menacing villains.
Go.
April O'Neil reporting from New York Comic Con 2016 with Casey Jones.
Oh, what's up? Yeah.
Well, you're a big deal. Hello, it's Richard meeting
Hi.
Richard.
Hi. I'm a big deal. How are you?
Yeah. In-depth question, just visit him on the third floor.
Okay, so I'm going to ask some questions. My partner here, Shigeko, is going to translate to me. I will translate to them, then give the answer to me, and I'll speak it out to everybody.
The great ending of Power Rangers Operation Overdrive 10 years later. So, a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, there was the infamous Power Rangers Operation Overdrive. It started with a very high debut, ratings-wise, for the Disney era before fizzling out. I enjoyed the show, but there were a lot of critics. A lot of people hated the series for some odd reason. Some stuff was bad, acting, directing, having less than 40 episodes, etc. Not to mention the lack of concentration of this being an anniversary season compared to its Japanese counterpart, Go Sentai Bokenger. That was a problem, and fans had expectations. Imagine if the baddie had created bad guys out of former Power Rangers Zords, the inspiration for Toei in Japan. However, that was the problem. It was a Power Rangers series, so people were biased. As I will note, rewatching the series, a lot of stuff taken while watching the show without Bokenger makes the show quite enjoyable. Or if it's a masterpiece, is, well, probably not debatable at all. But I think 10 years later, this show may have been underestimated in entertainment, lore, and overall payoff for the show. So you're thinking I'm really biased and was always pro Power Rangers Operation Drive watching the show. Sort of. Well, sort of. My original thoughts. I thought the Android storyline was dumb and out of nowhere. Well, a couple of days ago, I revisited the reveal, and it was just sort of dumb. They allowed it in the beginning, with hints that Mac was considered an object, although it was more forced and treated as if they were reading the script, rather than actually showing Andrew treat him as an object, which is a problem, and very nonsensical for the show, and probably why a lot of people didn't like that aspect of the show. Andrew treated Mac like his son, like a human. Both. Spencer and Andrew do hint in the show that, and they don't hint it earlier on, and there's no reason for this. Well, it's not plausible, it's just very off-putting, that they only met Mac 2 years ago. Rewatching this after watching the end of the series finally, I think there is a good payoff for this, actually. Although I do suspect the Netflix edit may have been tinkered with to some extent, although not as much as I would like have happened with Mystic Force, in my opinion. The series' length is also a problem, which also makes the payoff not as strong, so it does feel a little bit rushed when everybody's dying off. Also, the fact that he becomes an android isn't good sci-fi, which I'll get into a bit. When Mac has his speech about fighting Moltor in the second to last episode, episode 31. There's not a lot of technical babble as to how Mac's sci-fi works, and it's not really that philosophical, although it could have been, when he goes for the realization that he's an android and that his memories are fake, etc. It doesn't go to a Kokade or Shotaro Ishinomori homage, although there are some aspects of it. It does come off as a little bit childrenish, and they didn't really believe. I didn't feel like Mac, the actor for Mac, Jason McClure, fully immersed himself in that role. And I don't know if it was casting or the poor script, but it didn't come off as genuine or something that audiences could connect with. If they were going to go with that storyline and then that route, then a philosophical, well-written script was needed, and it wasn't. They did that with RPM, and I think that worked really well, and I think Operation Overdrive may have even inspired it a bit. Hence the whole Mac Helmet thing. Even that wasn't that philosophical, though, in retrospect, even though it is really enjoyable. A lot more enjoyable than how they portrayed it in Operation Overdrive. RPM, was it as Matrix or Inception like? It wasn't like we had to wonder if Mac's memories were real or not, although that was definitely explored in RPM, which was part of the thing that made it so interesting. And then there was rumors about the plot twist in the end where he wasn't really... Well, we were thinking that he wasn't... They were going to have this plot twist where he wasn't really Dylan, and he was Vendrix the whole time, or something epic like that, prior to Eddie Gazillion being removed from the show. Gentleman taking over, although it wasn't Gentleman's fault. I think Gentleman would like that plot was too good too. But that's another story. There's, of course, the whole problem about being under the Disney mandate, supervision from producers, stockholders, etc. The child-friendly council who believes that you can't write a storyline about that. It definitely could have been... RPM didn't quite go that far itself. And Disney would blame the show on that kind of adult storyline, even though it was mainly because of the 6 a.m. Saturday, mind you, for kids storyline time slot, when there was no school at the time to watch TV shows for prior to school. And that's a shame. I definitely think there was some background where they were thinking of this Matrix-like complicated video game storyline. Let me give me a moment to explain that, because it's a little bit abstract, but I wonder if you're going to be able to follow what I'm trying to talk about. They use very different locations in the show, which is very Nolan Wachowski-esque like. In Inception, they go from the bank to the ice mountains to all that James Bond's stuff and locations from Japan and all those different locations, France, etc. Africa. This is before Inception, by the way, 3 years prior, but like it definitely was a possibility. Power Rangers go to a television show on the television show, Power Rangers Operation Overdrive, which is very postmodern, like Inception, like the Wachowski Matrix-esque ideas. There's Wachowski Matrix fights. The Chrono Aurora and Jules are a very video game Matrix-esque MacGuffin type idea to obtain these objects that will save the world. Heck, Master Mao in the next series, Jungle Fury, is from the Matrix, even if it is from a sequel, The Matrix Revolutions. Yeah, the whole cast of characters, much like the Matrix cast. They all do martial arts, they do DNA and reprogramming and learn all these objects, and they get special superpowers, etc., much like the Matrix. I think it would have been a very interesting idea and was possibly explored. However, even if we didn't get that, we did end up with something very good character-wise and plot-wise in the end product. Although many Power Rangers fans, as usual, gave up before giving the storyline a chance, including myself, admittedly. I haven't watched the ending till now, and I think it's a really good payoff. Mac wanted his humanity, Moltor gave up his. It's stated through dialogue, and I don't know when Moltor had this fact that he used to be a human, but it seemed like a really good anime-ish payoff that I thought was really cool and thought was really cool, considering that Moltor was this guy who defeated the Power Rangers so many times, made them blow up thanks to the careless explosions. And I thought that was a really good payoff for that. It definitely feels like a missing scene, but makes the beef between each other very strong, whether retconned or not, and I really dig that. They're characters that compare and contrast with each other, and it's really cool that they have that moment before the end of the series. I don't remember the last time since the Neil Saban era where that happened. Furious destroys his brother. The ending, Andrew can't give up Mac to Furious, nor composes Furious in the end. Mac doesn't understand why the jewels were given away when he considers himself a robot. Something that's somewhat Kikita-ish, which is interesting. Same with the Operation Overdrive Power Rangers. So the element of family is there. Ties on his back with his family. Really good payoff for a Disney era plot line. Mystic Force last season didn't have it, and this does. Also, it's a bit darker. Mac is willing to commit suicide because he realizes he's a robot and considers himself replaceable. Andrew doesn't, and they don't really explain why he doesn't, and they don't show it either. But it's cool that he does. He has a little moment where he says, "I love you," and Mac takes the effort to take value in his own life. Not to mention Moltor, who I consider the true baddie of the whole series, as I mentioned before, with all the wins and come-ups he has over the Operation Overdrive Rangers. Or at least does the most. Dies very slowly. So it's not painless death, much like God Nero's, as I mentioned in a previous review. He then has his body frozen, the worst possible death for a man who lives in a volcanic celestial being, prior to getting exploded by his own brother, all while not sounding tough and very human-like, gasping for air, gasping for help from his own brother, much like the God Nero's final words in Church and Kima told her. The ending's a little bit cheesy, and the whole not being able to die thing, being a shrink of Max, was a very good idea, and then completely getting rid of by the fact that he gets turned into human, which I thought was a weakness, and the payoff of the ending. Why become a human? Feel pain, feel hunger? Although he might have felt that as an android, but that wasn't covered when they revealed that. They don't really explore that part at all, which, again, a piece that probably everybody hated. It's probably a plot hole. Although sci-fi androids can't do those things. But make up your own storyline and physics and physiology and explain how it works. Operation Overdrive. But overall, yeah, very good payoff. I really enjoyed the ending of Operation Overdrive, and I hope people explore it another time too. That was just a really good payoff to an Operation Overdrive Power Rangers ending, and I don't see that coming anytime soon. Although we did have that good down charge ending that some people didn't like, although I would say Operation Overdrive's ending was a lot better than that and a lot more fan satisfying. Although a lot of people didn't like the Android storyline. It was written well, I think, in that aspect, and should be explored and enjoyed that way.